morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Laurie Davis, and you're listening to the Dr. Laurie Davis Show here on E360 TV, also streaming live on YouTube, our YouTube channel, Laurie Davis Show Host, and also on our Facebook page, Self-Worth, the Missing Link Superstars. So Thursdays, we feature authors, books, do movie reviews, interview celebrities, athletes, and I'm solo today. This is our first broadcast of Thursday being movie and book review. So thank you for being here. Also, I just want to share that we, on Monday, will be starting our series, VIP series, Voice of Indigenous People. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later in the show. It has been said that where you will be in 5 years depends on two things. One, the books you read and the people you associate with. The books you read and the people you associate with. I've always been an avid reader, and I have books on my shelf now, mostly books that I use as resource material or books that I want to go to again. Sometimes I read a fictional novel. They say it's good to do that. You should not always just be reading professional stuff that it relates to your career, your job, but also to allow yourself to enjoy a good romance novel, a good murder mystery, something like that. Gets the brain in a different location. So today I have chosen a book that has been on my shelf since 2003. That means like 20 years. Can't believe it. But anyway, the book I want to talk about today is called The 1 Minute Millionaire. The authors, Mark Victor Hansen, you may recognize his name. He is the co-author of the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, along with Jack Canfield. And his partner in this book was Robert Allen. And actually, Robert Allen is from our home turf, Alberta, Canada. So that's kind of fun. And I love the book. It was recommended to me back in 2003. And I might mention also, too, if you would like to call in and ask questions or comments, or you want to be part of the show, then just dial in at 1-825-420-2011. So today, book review. And I'm looking forward to having Prince Fleet Easton back. We're going to do a movie review soon. And I have some authors who are ready to come on board and talk about their own books or their contribution to a compilation book. It's all very fun. So Thursday's fun day. And so today, Mark Victor Hansen, The 1 Minute Millionaire. What attracted me to this book, it not only was recommended to me, but what made it attractive to me was there are two sections to the book. And one side, you'll see the purple frame. One side is a novel. This is a story, a fictional story, but based on real events. And on the left-hand side, you have all of their views on money principles, money systems, and they reflect the systems that the novel, the girl in the novel, Michelle, used to raise $1 million. So I'm just going to start off by reading how this began from the novel side. The novel side. Michelle was always grateful that her children weren't in the house when she noticed the red light blinking on the answering machine. It was her husband, Gideon, calling from his car to tell her he'd be a little late getting home. Nikki and Hannah, the two children, never heard how their father's cheerful rendition of Puff the Magic Dragon, intended for them, was interrupted by the jarring screech of his brakes, of metal against metal, and of cars colliding. Michelle, alone in the kitchen, while the kids scampered happily around the backyard with their small menagerie of pets, played the message over and over, hoping it would end differently. She learned later from a grim-faced state trooper clutching his hat in his hand, that her husband had been the only fatality of a 4-car pileup. The drunken man who caused the accident spent a day in the hospital and then was released. Most of the town of Deer Creek, Colorado came to the funeral. Michelle's friends arranged a wake at her house following the trip to the cemetery. Michelle sat on a folding chair in the living room, and on her lap she balanced an untouched plate of fruit salad and some cookies that her friend Summer had handed her. With her eyes lowered, all she could see were anonymous bottom halves of people milling about. Slowly she registered that a couple was approaching, a man in a black suit and a woman with dimpled knees under sheer black hosiery. These were Gideon's parents. Reluctantly, Michelle looked up. Anthony Erickson stood over 6 feet, and his wife just a few inches shorter. Anthony's strawberry blonde hair was only flecked with gray and so abundant that Michelle suspected a hair transplant. His eyes were swimming pool blue. Natalie, with the help of a face and eye lift, radiated an imperious beauty at 60. The Ericksons had always disliked Michelle, and it had been difficult for her to return the sentiment. For the kids' sake and for Gideon's sake, so she always was as polite as possible. But seeing them now, she felt a stirring sense of pity. They had lost their only child. Then Natalie whispered, "You know, dear, I would have been happy to help you buy something nice for Nikki and Hannah to wear to their father's funeral." Michelle remained speechless. She glanced over at her children. They were in a favorite spot next to the fireplace. Nikki holding Hannah's hand. She had heard him say to his sister that morning, "I'll be like Daddy, you know." With her free hand, Hannah held Mr. Moo Moo up in her cheek. Mr. Moo Moo was the yellow and pink blanket that Michelle had crocheted for her while she was pregnant and hoping for a girl. Nikki was a precious 7-year-old, a serious reader, excellent in math, and reflective to the point of being almost somber. He loved sports, especially baseball. Hannah was 5 and completely unaware that she was stunning, with curly auburn hair and radiant fair skin. Her appearance favored the Erickson side. Michelle, of course, had straight brown hair, brown eyes, and an olive complexion. Hannah was bright like her brother, but she did struggle with shyness. The struggle was on Michelle's mind when she said weakly, "I am a good mother." "We can see that," Anthony observed, looking toward Nikki, a small bandage he spotted on her forehead, the result of an errant line drive he'd tried to field only days ago. "He was playing baseball." Michelle raised her voice now. She had felt guilty and reproached herself that day all the way to the emergency room, and would probably still be thinking about it if it hadn't been for. "We'll make this brief," Anthony said crisply. "It's no secret that you were not our first choice to marry our son." And in her mind, she thought, well, you weren't exactly my first choice either. "I always saw Gideon as taking over Erickson Timber before you entered the picture. But now he's gone." Michelle had been trying hard not to cry, but now the battle was lost, and the tears rolled down her cheeks. A few grapes slid off the plate on her lap. She patted down her loose-fitting plum dress, one of the few dresses she owned. No pockets, no tissues. "Well, he never wanted Erickson Timber," she whispered to herself. "Well, the bottom line is that we have one thing left to us," Anthony retorted. "Just one, and that would be our grandchildren. And Nikki is my last chance for an Erickson heir." This isn't the right time, but there will never be a right time, Anthony said. Although he gave no perceptible signal, a black suited man with gray hair suddenly appeared from behind Anthony and handed Michelle a sheaf of paperwork. Mrs. Erickson, I am serving you with legal document, the man said in a practiced tone, quickly stepping away from her. Michelle cautiously placed the papers on the coffee table. The words Erickson versus Erickson in large letters at the top leapt out at her, but her head was throbbing too hard to try anything to read beyond the legalese. We want custody of your children, Anthony said. So the story begins with Michelle losing her kids to the wealthy grandparents, and then she was delivered an ultimatum. And the ultimatum was, if you can raise $1 million in 90 days and put that cash on my desk, you can have your kids back. Whoa. Now the journey begins. That's called motivation. And a lot of people lack motivation. They don't have a good enough reason. Recently, I have been watching a series called Little Bird, and we'll talk a little more about that on Monday when we do our VIP show, Voices of Indigenous People. And this is a story of the 60s scoop when the government was abducting basically children and putting them into the foster care system and then adopting them out. And these would be people in Michelle's similar position, but different in that Michelle has been given an ultimatum, which actually then turned into an opportunity. Because the happy ending is she delivered that money. The rest of the book on the left-hand side are the principles that were attached to her being able to leverage that kind of a money-raising venture. And so I'd like to share a few of those with you today, but is that not a compelling story? And what it taught me was, if the motivation is not big enough, if you don't have enough reason to do something, what we spend our time doing is making up excuses about why we can't do it. Wow. How does that work? Been there. I've been there. So today we're discussing, our book review today is The 1 Minute Millionaire by Mark Victor Hansen and Robert Allen. Mark Victor Hansen, you may recall, was the co-author of the Chicken Soup series, and he was a mentor of mine. I attended many of his workshops and presentations over the years. I would travel from the East Coast to California to learn from these guys, and they were terrific. Mark Victor Hansen shared the story also of how they went to 144 publishers before anybody would take on the Chicken Soup for the Soul first publication. I might be incorrect, but I would say it's safe to say they've probably sold 1 billion copies of those books. Because as you know, they expanded on it. Chicken Soup for the Golfer's Soul, Chicken Soup for the Grandmother's Soul. And they were told that it wasn't a good idea because nobody was going to buy those gushy, fluffy stories and read them and pay money to read them. And somebody was wrong. Somebody was wrong. So if you have a grandiose idea, go for it. Because once you do, the right people, the right contacts, the right places, everything will show up. So they created a series of what they called their aha moments in the manifestation of money and when we need money and how to get money. Because Michelle, it was her children. And would we not do anything anything that is within our power to save our children from a definite fate. So they shared number one, everybody has the ability to manifest. So, what does that mean? Well, it means taking something that's invisible and making it visible. Everyone manifests. Some people manifest abundance, some people manifest poverty or a lack. If you don't have what you want, examine your thoughts. Ask yourself, how did I manifest this in my life? How did I manifest this terrible relationship? How did I manifest whatever, this beautiful car? It could be either or, but we are the fruit of our thoughts, and our thoughts become things. Every thought has a consequence. No thought lives in your brain rent free. The more intense the thought, the more the more powerful the outcome. So if I'm constantly thinking, and I just shared this with a client, if I'm constantly thinking, I'm so tired, I'm so exhausted, I just don't have any energy. After a while, the body says, okay, that's true, and you want to fall asleep everywhere you go. So there are millions of enlightened ways to manifest $1 million. And so this book, The 1 Minute Millionaire, the book that we're reviewing today, which I purchased in 2003, which is 20 years ago, has really supported me in many ways to show me that I am, in fact, a manifester. But I haven't always manifested for myself what served me or what was good for me. You know, I've manifested toxic relationships, I have manifested money, I have manifested um, poor opportunities. It just goes on and on. So, if you want to change your economic future, I'd highly recommend that you start by getting your hands on this book, The 1 Minute Millionaire. And oh, by the way, the boys don't know that I'm promoting the book today. I'm not getting paid to promote the book. I'm just sharing from the heart the things that have helped me along the way. And this book was one of them. The next aha moment is, instead of worrying about having, concern yourself with expanding your ability to be, to do, and then you'll have. You see, abundance comes from making others better off than they are. Zig Ziglar once said, when you help enough people get what they want, you'll always get what you want. And the primary reason to receive is so that you have more to give. Of course, you must do what you love, add enormous value to it, and leverage it. And the enlightened millionaire knows and acts from that space. And it all comes from being a giver, being a servant, being generous, being kind. Everything comes from being. So the second aha to our millionaire journey and Michelle's millionaire journey, these were things she had to learn first before she could manifest the money. And so that brought different people into her life, some mentors, some strategists, some friends. And when we blame other people, this is number 3, aha. Live life above the line. Whenever something doesn't go the way we want it to, we want to blame somebody. It was the government's fault. It was my dad's fault. It was my parents, their fault. The world makes progress by learning from our mistakes. But when we blame someone else, it gives that person the power over the situation. So we don't want that. We want to live above the line of blame and learn from our mistakes. Blaming and justifying is another level of suboptimal learning. It's called shame, and we beat ourselves up. So we say things like, I did the stupidest thing. I'm not that bright. So we need to, number three is live above the line of blame and shame. And how we do that is always be open to learning. And that's just key. And Michelle, in her quest to raise this $1 million to get her kids back, definitely had to live above that line. Choose to look at everything above the blame and shame line. And, we're not responsible for everything that happens to us. That's for sure. But the more willing we are to view the world from this plane of above shame and blame, the better off we'll be in all aspects of our life. I loved the number 4, aha. And if I don't get a chance to finish this today, we'll have a part 2 because there's a lot of them. And I could talk about each one for an hour. But the number 4, aha, that Michelle had to connect with or address was that abundance is our natural state. Lack and poverty are unnatural. The universe is fundamentally abundant. There's no shortage except in our own mind. And I've been there. I have been there many times. Infinite money potentially awaits each of us who knows how to implement the principles attached to it. You can decide to become wealthy and abundant now, and the universe will cheerfully provide. But if you're worrying and angsting about the pennies or paying the bills, that's when we block it. So the principle of abundance is exactly the same. The dictionary defines abundance as great supply, plenitude, sufficiency, more than enough. It is a principle that cannot wear out, rust out, get tired, or not deliver the goods. Abundance just is. And once you take ownership of the principle, the results that follow must be abundant, because abundant thinking multiplies, magnetizes, and increases. So this is really important. Real life models of abundance include such wide-ranging examples as Mother Teresa. She never concerned herself about money at all. She didn't have any money, but she lived to be very old and she didn't starve to death. Dr. Maya Angelou, Oprah, Paul Newman, Art Linkletter, Bill Gates. The out picture abundance must first be successfully and representatively in picture in a mental state. Why? Because our state of mind creates our state of results. So I was working with a client this morning and I said, okay, look around, because I have a lot of people who tell me, oh, I don't need your workshops. I've got lots of self-worth. But their life isn't reflective of that. They're in toxic relationships. They're poor. They're on drugs. I've had people tell me who were on drugs that they had lots of self-worth. I don't think so. Somebody's lying. So we need to embrace the fact that abundance is a natural state of being. Just look at a lawn. How many blades of grass are in that lawn, on that lawn? How many, I believe there's over 6,000, what is the right word? Not breed, but kinds of roses. 6,000. That's a little, as they say, excessive. But try to empty the ocean with a teaspoon. There's abundance all around us, which is trying to say to us, if a tree is abundant with apples and the seeds in the apples will grow more apples, that's abundance. But we also are abundant. We just don't know it. All right. The fifth aha that Michelle had to learn was the givers get. Have you ever really poured yourself into another person? You've given them everything, your time, your money, your energy, but you didn't get it back from them? I've had that experience. But what I came to understand was that's not exactly how it might happen. But the fact that you were giving means that you will get it back, but it might not be from the person you gave to. It might be from somebody totally different, from whom you were not even expecting it. Okay? So, properly adding $1 million to your net worth is the primary objective of this book. And when I acquired the book in 2003, I didn't have any assets, money, nothing left after a very nasty court battle. And I had to start from scratch. So I was like Michelle. I started from scratch. And I'm telling you, that $1 million happened. I've done more than $1 million worth of business over the years. So, as many of the ancient texts said, give and it will be given to you. Reflect for a moment. Aren't the people with the most friends the ones who are the most friendly? Aren't the people who receive the most love the most loving? You see how you do that? So we have to embrace the combination of faith and action. It's like a process of standing on the edge of a cliff and trusting that there's a beautiful, fabulous world of abundance in the valley, and then jumping. Giving as you get acknowledges the universe as truly abundant. Giving taps into the spiritual dimension that multiplies us, our thinking, and our results. The enlightened millionaire knows there is an ocean of abundance, and one can tap into it. The ocean doesn't care. It just keeps on giving. Isn't that cool? And I have, for me, it was a mixed bag of tricks because I went through life, half of my life probably, thinking abundantly, and then the other half not thinking abundantly. So I had one foot, it was either like a feast or a famine. I either had tons of money or I had absolutely no money. And that has happened to me a few times until I got it together. And that's just recently happened again. For the last time, I'm trusting. Okay, the sixth aha. And back to our story, if you're just joining the show, today is Thursday, book review day, movie review day, and today I have chosen to talk about The 1 Minute Millionaire by Mark Victor Hansen, which has become a real resource for me. It's a book that I continue to pull out off the shelf, highlight some more things, because things speak to us differently as we grow. 5 years ago when I read the book, it didn't have the same meaning as it does today. Probably 20 years ago when I first read it, I hardly could understand anything in it. So as I have evolved and progressed, now when I go back and reread the books on my shelf, they have a total different meaning and journey for me. So that's why we said earlier, if you look at where you want to be in 5 years, that will depend on two things: the books you read and the people with whom we associate. So that's really powerful to know that. The sixth aha, changing your reality. Well, that's a snap. Many people have a positive internal voice that encourages them. They don't need encouragement from other people. It comes from within. And we say things like, I can do this. I'm going to go for it. Good for me. I did it. Do you have a voice like that? Or do you have a voice like this? You can't do that. What makes you think you could do that? Why are you being so dumb right now? You can't do anything right. You're so clumsy. And sometimes, without being aware of it, this skeptical voice talks us out of our dreams. We call it sabotage, saboteur, Mrs. Yabbit. Yeah, but excuses. Excuses. Oh, yeah, well, we could do this. Da, 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 da. Yeah, but what are we going to get the money? Yeah, but who's going to help us? Yeah, but take that out of your vocabulary. Because if you let the yeah buts go unchecked, they can cause unnecessary anxiety, muddled thinking, poor health. They can even ruin your life. And those yeah buts are the excuses. The excuses. So Michelle is in a situation. She has to have 90 days to raise $1 million, or she's never going to see her children again. So we also need that motivation. So we have to turn up the volume of our positive voice. You can do it. We've got this. We know how. We have the tools. We have the technology. And I have just ventured into a big project with my business partner, and I have lots of business partners, but one of them. And, our budget for that project is $2 billion. $2 billion, not 2 million, 2 billion. And we already have people interested in helping us because of the cause that we're jumping into. And it's huge, it's big, it's planetary, it's global, it's amazing. So that's my reality right now. Was it my reality 2 months ago? No, but it became my reality this past week. And there will be no yeah buts, and I will not allow anyone else to have any yeah buts. Yeah, but how are you going to do that? How are you going to take care of that? How are you going to help all those people? Because we're going to help 1.8 million people. So your thoughts have the power to curse or bless you. They can lead you to plenty, or they can lead you to lack, limitations, deprivation, scarcity, and have notness. You've heard that, the haves and the have nots. But it's our decision, and our thinking controls that. And Michelle was going to have to learn that, because there were going to be times in the story where she was ready to throw in the towel and give up. How many of us have had that in our mind? I could have thrown the towel in 100 times and had a really good excuse to do so. I'm serious. Okay, the seventh aha. Words transform. People need to be responsible for their thoughts, but it may not be easy, but it can be done. And then the second thing we have to put under wraps is our words. What kind of words are we speaking? Speak only that which benefits you and benefits others. Right? Choose your words carefully. If it doesn't serve you, don't say it. If you catch yourself speaking words that don't serve you, put a $2 bill into a bowl and then watch the results, and you will see just how often you're participating in those words, because words can change everything. Words are so powerful. Remember that old saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me? That is the biggest lie I have ever heard. I am dead serious about that. So let's just take a little break and talk a bit about some things that are going on for us here at the Laurie Davis Show. The Dr. Laurie Davis Show, we have a huge project coming up in finance. Classes start up on September the 5th, and this is 100 workshops, hardcore financial strategies, ways to become your own best investor, the soft side of things, how to build the self-worth component so you know that you deserve abundance, all about that. So if you want more information about that, just email me, thelaurie.davis.show@gmail.com. The next announcement is, if you have a story to tell, if there's something about your life that you'd like to put out there and you'd love to have me host an interview with you, or a conversation. I don't really enjoy doing interviews as such. I like to have conversations. So please give me a call at the show number 780-909-8571 if you would like to be on the show. Let's see. If you'd like to call in right now and have a conversation or ask a question, please call us at 825-420-2011. And we're streaming live right now on E360 TV, the Facebook page, Self-Worth the Missing Link Superstars, and our most popular YouTube next to the TV station, of course. We're streaming live right now on YouTube, the Laurie Davis Show host channel. So those are a few announcements for now. All right, so number eight, the eighth aha that Michelle had throughout the process of raising $1 million to get her kids back was, you are your wealth. How does that work out? Well, it all starts from nothingness. We all came into the world naked, helpless, and no knowledge. We were ignorant. We had lots of intuition, though, and we had lots of self-worth. But the first task is to take stock of our resources. In business, they call it preparing a balance sheet. And so our assets become basically our behaviors. We are our own wealth. So what are some things that we need as assets? We need creativity, determination, persistence, commitment, and we have to develop these things. These are attributes that would appear on our asset spreadsheet as a human being, and we need to have those. We need to have a vision. We need to be generous, courageous, bold. We need to have contact skills. We need to know how to sell ourselves. These are things that we need to acquire in order for us to manifest our abundance, and because we are our own wealth. And I'm quite proud to say, have I had lean times? Absolutely. However, I haven't had a job with a salary since 1984. That's almost 40 years ago. I can't believe it. 40 years. And I couldn't have done that if I hadn't hung on to what I call my internal liabilities, things like anger, perfectionism. I used to be a control freak and a perfectionist. Laziness, poorly organized, not showing up. These are all liabilities. And so that's never going to build anything. So as a beginner, there are only 3 things we need. And Michelle had the motivation because of the outcome. But we need a good idea. We need a commitment to that idea. And the key contacts who possess the other resources. So here's your motto. Here's what Mark said, and I'm quoting directly. Every resource I need is possessed by someone, somewhere at this very moment. How can I find these individuals and persuade them to provide me with those resources? You show up and you ask for what you need. And that creates your wealth. Your wealth. The 9th aha, I love this one. Having wealth gives you freedom. Having wealth gives us freedom. So freedom for what? What do we want to be free? Free to do. You will work because you want to work, not because you have to work. So I show up for work. This is my 45th straight day of working. People go, what? Are you a workaholic? No. I'm up and working because that is what I love to do. I love my downtime. I love my private time. But I'm not going to get up at 8 o'clock in the morning and sit on the couch and eat potato chips or watch soap operas, tidy things up, do a few dishes, and call it a day. What a waste. Wow. Wow. You build up to taking off a week per month, or equivalently to that is 3 months a year when you forget about work. And when you do what you love, you don't feel like you're working anyway. But now I've worked my 45 days. I'm not suggesting you do that. But now my clients leave today, and then I will take a break. Because what wealth does, it is freedom. It's not talking about money, it's time and money freedom. Time and money. With time and money freedom, we can pursue relationship freedom. We'll have more time for our loved ones. And then there's spiritual freedom and physical freedom. And health is the ultimate wealth. You'll have time to exercise. You have time to live a decent life. So, money freedom, time freedom, relationship freedom, spiritual freedom. Isn't that worth it? And physical freedom, physical, you know, rid of all the physical ailments and pains and health issues. And that is so important. And then you can have ultimate freedom. So in the novel, Michelle realizes she has some work to do to get to that place where she's going to manifest that $1,000,000. She has the motivator, that's for sure. But now there are all these other pieces that she needs to make it happen. The 10th aha is everything starts with a dream, a thought. Our imagination. Our imagination. I'm picturing that $2 billion for the project and how many people that's going to help. The $2 billion isn't for me. Not at all. I don't need $2 billion, but I need it for my project, our projects. And so in 90 days, and we started a while ago. So what do you look like in 5 years? What do you want to look like? I turn 75 next year. I want to look super beautiful, super hot, figure all back. I've got a plan already, and I have a whole year yet left to fulfill the plan. I've already started, but I have a plan. And what is it that's so important to taking that dream and turning it into reality? I can do it. I can do it. I've done the work. I have the content. I have the systems in place. I have the technology. I've had this technology for 20 years. I was first online. There were no cameras, mind you, but in 2002. That's 21 years ago I was using this technology that now everybody's all excited about after COVID, but it was there before COVID. People just didn't use it. All right, the 11th aha is clarity. Clarity, clarity, clarity. In other words, crystal clear. You can see it, you can smell it, you can feel it, you can sense it. It's in you. That's all I've got to say about that. Most people do not know where they're going. They don't know what they want. And Zig Ziglar said one time, you cannot hit a target that you cannot see. Whoa. All right. More clarity is more powerful. That's aha number 12. So you might get clear. You got a little idea of what you want to do, how you want to get there, and the how-to may show up as you go along. But the 12th aha for Michelle was it needed to be super clear, because that's where the power is. So goals are critical to our success. So there's 6 categories: body, your physical goals, your brain, your intellectual goals, the books you read, the amount of daily study, the workshops you attend. Then the third one is being, and being is about your spirituality, the time you spend meditating and praying and just being quiet, sitting in nature. The fourth one is your time. Time is your organizational goals. You only have so many hours in the day, and every person on the planet has the same hours. Then we have people goals. Your people goals concerning the most important people in your life, the people that mean something to you, the people that matter to you, and how you build those relationships. And then last but not least are your financial goals. So we need super clarity in those 6 areas: body, brain, spirit, organization, people, and money. And that gives us balance. That gives us balance. There's an idea here. Can you imagine affirming each of these 6 goals every day as if you'd already achieved them? In writing on a 3x5 card, for instance, if your money goal is to earn 100,000 this year and take plenty of time off, you would write the following: I am so happy and grateful that I'm earning $400 a day, working 250 days a year. We have to be specific, and that brings it power. I love that idea. Think only of what you want and never of what you don't want. Visualize yourself already there. And I have to say that this past week, when my partner came to visit, that's exactly what we did. And all of a sudden, doors started to fly open, even on his trip back home. The 13 aha, which might be a little more difficult because I believe a lot of us are in denial about this. Tapping into your genius. Did you know you were a genius? We all are. If we tap into it, it's the potential is there. And I share with my clients sometimes, just think about everything we learn in the first year that we're on the planet. And then everything we learn in 2 years, 3 years, up to the age of 5. Look what we've acquired and accomplished. And that's genius. But then we start listening to other people about the yeah buts and the why nots and what makes you think you could do that. And so here are 4 characteristics of people who are expressing their genius as an adult. And I use the example of a little kid, a year old. They're learning to walk and they fall down. What do? They get back up. Jack Canfield taught us that. They get back up. Then what do? They fall down again. They hit their head on the coffee table and they start crying. What do? They get back up. And each time we get back up, because we don't know that that's not what to do. We know innately that's what we're supposed to do. But as adults, if we have a great idea and it doesn't fly the first time out the door, we throw it out the window, we give up on it, which we should never do. Just because it didn't work the first time. Ask Thomas Edison. 10,000 light bulbs later. So here are the 4 characteristics. People who have a genius inside of them, they're passionate. They love what they do. They would do it even if they weren't getting paid. That's true. I've done that. Number 2, talent. They're good at what they do. Call it talent, ability, or genius. They've already got it. Number 3, values. Doing what they do is extremely important to them. It's a priority. And number 4, destiny. They have a sense that they're doing what they were born to do. You know, when people say, I was born ready? Making their own unique contributions. It's a spiritual thing. It's your destiny. And mine was always broadcasting. I loved it. I could talk on here all day long. And if nobody wants to listen, that's not the issue. The issue is I'm putting out a message and I'm putting out that energy, and those vibrations are out there. So is genius only found among the great? Absolutely not. So how do we begin to tap into our genius? Well, go back and compile your own 4-part genius list. And the purpose of the exercise is to help you become aware of more aspects of who you are. The more you access these parts of yourself, the more energy you will feel, the more fulfillment you will experience, the more success you will have, and the faster the $1 million will land. And Michelle was in the midst of this journey based on the fact that she lost her children and she had to raise $1 million to get them back. Wow. Isn't that amazing? So you just have to ask yourself 4 things. Number 1, what do I love to do? And make a list. 4 things. So I wrote, I love to share, empower, give, and support. I wrote that in 2003. I'm still doing it 20 years later. What am I good at? My business, helping others, my terrific voice. What is important to me? My passion for children, kids, kids, kids. That's what I wrote. And number 4, my destiny. What was I born to do? I was born to empower others to find their way to a happier life. And I've dedicated my whole life to that. And I'm really glad that I chose that because it has created a life for me that I never would have dreamed of. All right. Well, today we've been reviewing our book review show today on Thursdays, The 1 Minute Millionaire by Mark Victor Hansen and Robert Allen. And this is a powerful document to help us get into the mindset that we need to get into to manifest all other parts of us, our purpose, our passion, our destiny, what it is that we really want to be doing in the world. All right. Thank you. I've enjoyed sharing that so very much. So on Thursdays, let me just review the show frames. Monday, our VIP show, The Voices of Indigenous People. My guest on Monday will be Diane LaFond. She is the very first Indigenous person in this country to have been appointed to set up an ombudsperson's office to monitor and investigate and support the quality of health care that our Indigenous people receive. Also, we're going to talk a bit about systemic racism and what is that. So that's Monday's show. Tuesdays, of course, we have a co-host, Ramin Modiri, and Ramin and I talk about finance. And finance is not just about money, it impacts all other aspects of our life. On Wednesday, we discuss wellness. Yesterday, I talked about emotional stability and how to acquire that because there's so much dysfunction, right? And then today, we're going to either do a movie review, author review, interview some authors, movie review with Prince Fleet Easton. We do that. So it's exciting to be on the air. We've moved from 3 days to 4 days. If I happen to be away or need to take a holiday, we record shows because we have so many shows in the can now. They can just pick and choose whatever they want and do a rerun. And I do have a favor. I would love you to go into our YouTube channel and subscribe. We're going to start working on building our viewership audience in YouTube. We have a viewer audience in our network, E360 TV, because all the shows are archived. And you can go in there and listen to any show that you want at any time. I'm Laurie Davis, Dr. Laurie Davis. You've been listening to the Dr. Laurie Davis Show. Have a great weekend, a terrific weekend, and I'll be back on Monday, same time, same station with my guest, Diane LaFond.